Hello and welcome back. And today we're going to be solving Killer Cage's Dutch flatmates. Now, the Dutch flatmate rule set is one that we featured quite a bit already on this channel, and it is quite unique. I think it's something that Flinty invented and has been creating quite a few puzzles amongst them with Good City. Now, we haven't played a lot of these puzzles because in general they've been 2-star difficulty rated, which is fantastic because it's a weekend, and this is exactly what weekends are for, to give us a go at slightly harder puzzles. You can see the thumbnail here. We've got a bunch of, I guess, killers slash murderers locked away. Very small reference to the Dutch flatmates that somehow they are in a Dutch prison, and I guess they are kind of flatmates given they tend to share cells. Really, really out there to try and actually get this connection. Let's take a look at the rules in today's puzzle. So, hang on. Let's actually fix this and make sure that we actually select the puzzle. There you go. That's the puzzle, not the blank screen. Right, Dutch flatmates, Killer Cages by Flinty. And here are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. Fairly standard. Fives live in Dutch flats. That's the unique rule set. All fives in the grid must strictly have either a 1 directly above it and /or a 9 directly below it. So it can have both, but it doesn't need both. But it definitely needs to have at least one of them. So for example, if this is a 5 here in the center cell, one way of meeting that rule is having a 1 here. Another way of meeting that rule is having 1 and 9 around it. Lastly, of course, the other way of meeting the rule is having a 9 directly beneath it. Now, what we cannot do is essentially what I'm going to demonstrate here, which is have a 2 above it, I don't know, a 6 directly beneath it, and that would mean we're no longer meeting the rule set. That means essentially we have broken the Dutch flatmate rule. So, we also have killer cages, so digits in cages sum to the number in the top left corner, and digits cannot repeat within a cage. So, what would be a good example to look at here? If this 2-cell cage, that adds up to 5, you can see the 5 in the top left-hand corner. If that was a 2, this would have to be 3, so that these 2 cells add up together to 5. These 2 would be 14, these 3 would be 8, and so on and so forth. So, only thing left to say is, well, I can't imagine necessarily you want to visit that prison, but you may want to just solve this particular puzzle. Link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So some of these cages are forced, such as 17 in 2 cells can only be 8, 9. 23 cage in 3 cells can only be 6, 8, and 9. And I think this is where the Dutch flatmate rule set really helps. And I'll demonstrate this now. Now imagine somewhere in this row, well, because it is Sudoku rules after all, that there is a 5. Let's say for the sake of argument it's in here. Well, clearly, to satisfy the Dutch flatmate, I'm going to have either a 1 above it, which is impossible, I am in row 1, or a 9 directly beneath it. So one of almost like the secrets of Dutch flatmates is, wherever the 5 is in row 1, there is a 9 directly beneath it. So, that really helps us with the 17 cage. If that was a 9, that has to be 5, otherwise I've broken a Dutch flatmate. So that can't be a 9, that is an 8, that is a 9. Same here, that can't be a 9 because that's not a 5, and it's not an 8, that is in fact a 6. And what else can I do? I can... That's not a 9, obviously, that's just Sudoku, that's 8, that's 9, and we're off to an excellent start. 9 now is in one of these 3 cells, and 5 has to be directly above it, but it can't be inside a 5 cage. So these are not 5s, these are not 9, that's the 5, that's the 9. 9, we need a 6 to make a 15 cage work out, so that's a 6. And we're off to an excellent start, if I do say so myself. So let's have a think around where do we go next from here. This cell, 14 cage can only be done in one of two ways. It's either a 5-9, which this one is, or 6-8. Now it can't be 6-8. You can see that it sees both 6 and 8 in this cell. And this is not a 9. That's a 5, that's a 9. That's the 14 cage done. The 10 cage is also forced. It's not 1-9, it's not 2-8, and it's not 4-6. This is 3-7. Where do we go from here, actually? So what am I missing? I'm missing 1, 2, 4, and 6. So the 6 is up here. This is 1, 2, or 4. There's a 5 in here, and there is no 9 beneath it, because that's already the 9 place in box 2. So there's a 1 above it, which means that's not a 1. That is a 1. So this is 2, 4, 6. Hopefully I'll make a bit more progress. Yes, I can. This cannot be a 2. This cannot include a 2, I should say. And the reason is that 5 cage. With a 1 placed in here, we know that from the two possible options of 1, 4, this is not the 1. It is 2, 3, which removes a 2 from here. That's a 4, 6 pair. That's not a 4. I can type, and this is 1, 2. This is now known. This is 1, 7. This is, well, actually, we don't know what that is. Let's have a think about it. So 1, hang on, I've broken something. No, 1 is in here. Yeah, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 is down here. Then 4 and 8 I cannot place just yet. The 5 has to come down with a 1 in box 2 because we can't use the 9. So we know that much for certain. So if I just think through what that means, if that's 1, that would be 5. That adds up to 6, and this would have to be 7. That looks like, no, it's not possible because that's the 7. Yeah, and that's the 1, 7. So that doesn't work. 1, 5, and then 7 would break the puzzle. So that's not the 1, that's the 7, that's the 1, that's the 5. Now I need 2 cells that add up to 6, and it can't be 1, 5. This is in fact forced with 2, 4, and this is to complete the box 3. In here, this can't be a 2 because we've got a 1, 2 looking at it. That's a 4, that's a 2. We know what these are. This is 7, 8. We know what this is to finish. That's a 1, 4. Excellent start. I'm sure it's going to get tough soon. 7 or 8 means this is 3 or 4. 5, 9 in here means that this is 6, 8 in the 14 cage. An 8 cage. So have a think about this. So an 8 cage and 3 cells has to have a 1 within it. And the reason I'm thinking this is interesting is quite simple. I already have a 9 in the column. So if you think about where the 5 is in column 4, I can't have a 9 beneath it because the 9 is gone. I could only have a 1 above it. So long way of saying there are no 5s in here. The 5 joins the 1 inside the 8 cage with a 2. So this is 1, 2, 5 cage. That can't be a 1. If that's a 1, where would I place a 5 with a 1 above it? So that's not going to work. And clearly that can't be a 5 because I can't place a 1 in here either. So once this is 1, 2, 5, I'm wondering if the 17 cage is somewhat forced. So if I don't use a 3, essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all gone. And that would require 6, 8, and 9, which I imagine is way too big. Yeah, 8 and 9 itself is 17. That would be 23. So there's definitely a 3 in here. Then I need a 14 to complete it in 2 cells, and 5, 9 is not available because that's the 5 gone. So this is 3, 6, 8. And therefore I know what this is. This is 4, 7, 9. I can actually finish the rest of these cells. Am I going to pencil mark them? I'm sure somebody would say, Sleuth, if you pencil mark these earlier, you would have made a lot more progress quicker. So how about 1, 5, 9 in here? That's not a 9. In fact, where does the 5 go? I mean, I can have it 5 in here with a 9 there. I can have a 5 in here with a 1 here. So no real restrictions. There's a 2, 6, and 8. there is a 3, 4, and 7, and that's box 5 pencil marked. Not sure. The 6, 8 gives me a 4 in here. That was available way earlier, but I just missed it. The rest of this column is made up of 1, 2, 3, 7. So if I just write these in and think about it for a second, what does that all mean? No real Dutch flatmates because the 5 is sorted. This 1, 2, 3 would require 7, 8, 9, which seems available, and this 7 would require a 3 also available. Not great. I'm rapidly running out of cages to think about. So it feels like I really should be thinking about 5s, because the cages don't really seem to be doing much for me. I think that's the answer, is think about 5s for a moment. So one thing about, same logic that I use in here, that whenever 9 is in row 2, there has to be a 5 above it. Essentially, the inverse of that same secret is wherever 1 is in row 8, there's a 5 directly beneath it. So that can't be a 1, otherwise that would have to be a 5. So not 1, not 9. That can be 1. So maybe that's another way to think about it, just rows 8 and 9. Let's think about where 5 can be. 5 can't be here because that would require a 2 and a 7 cage. So no 5, no 5, no 5, no 5s, and no 5. 5 is in one of 2 cells. I'm just going to highlight these in a flash for a second. And the 5 can't be here because that doesn't have a 1 above it, because that would require a 9, which is not available. So that's not the 5. That is the 5. That's 1. That's 2. Does that help at all? Don't think it has. Sorry, I'm just going to hold. Just need to get somebody at the door. Please give me one moment. Right, sorry about that. We have a visitor, so that does tend to set off my dog, so please don't be surprised if you hear that in the background. Right, that was helpful. Let's think about this. That can't be a 5. Sorry, I'm just still thinking about 5s. So 5 in this box is none of these cells. I think, classic Sudoku, plus we've already pencil marked all of these. Now, that can't be a 5, and for the following reason. If that's a 5, that would be a 2, and then I still need a 1 above it to satisfy the Dutch flatmate rule. 1 and 2 break this cell. So, long way of saying, 5 is restricted to one of these top 2 cells. 5 now is in one of these 2 cells. I can certainly have a 9 in here with a 5. Will make 6 and 8 very awkward. So, with uniqueness, you can be pretty certain that this is going to be 5, 9. But as usual, we like to prove uniqueness on this channel rather than assume it. Obviously, I didn't include the 5 in here because of this classic Sudoku, so 5 is in one of these 2 cells. So my options are 9 beneath it, which seems really doable, 1 above it, which also seems really doable. So not brilliant. I don't think this is the way forward. So not 2, 5. 1, 6 seems feasible. So does 3, 4. Not sure. Yeah, really not sure. Where do I take this next? So 5 here is sorted. If that's a 5, that would be a 9. So no 5 in here, but we've already discounted it anyway. So I'm just going to highlight cells that are not 5s. I think it's just to sort of clarify things in my mind a bit. 5 with a 9, very possible. 5 with a 9 here. Yeah, it could be anywhere there. Interesting. Low digit, low digit, low digit. Very unlikely that this is a low digit, but it's just not enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and focus on the remaining cages because I haven't really spent a lot of time on these. So if this is 1, 6, it's forced in that order because of this 1, and the other option is 3, 4. If it is 3, 4, well, 3, 7 is gone. That would be 2, 8. That would become a 1. Yes, seems fine to me. 5, because there are no 9s beneath it. I don't know why I didn't spot this earlier. It means that there is a 1 up here. That's not a 1. So whichever one is the 5 has a 1 directly above it. Which actually makes placing a 5 in box 4 quite tough now. Because 9 is already placed. So anywhere I try and place a 5, let's say it's in here, that doesn't work because 9 is not beneath it and 1 is not above it because I've already placed a 1. So I think that's a long way of saying this has to be the 5 because that's the only way I can place a 1 above it. And like I said, 9 is not available, which gives me a 1. That's quite a stretch. That can't be the 5 anymore because there isn't a 1 above it or a 9 beneath it. That's the 5. That's the 9. Sorry, 5 and 9. Which forces a 5 in one of these two cells. There's now a 5 X-wing, and obviously you know my suspicion that this is 5, 9, but we still need to prove that. It doesn't help that the 1 could be anywhere in there. So you could even end up with 1, 5, 9, for example. So has this given us much? I don't know. Where is 9 in all of this? 9 is in one of two cells. Yeah, it's not enough. So remember how I was saying this is a very approachable puzzle? Well, it turned difficult, as expected. So, famous last words as always. Right. Shall I try and disprove 6, 8 here? Well, I mean, so I still haven't thought about the 10 cage. I still haven't thought about the 11 cage. So maybe worthwhile doing that. Let's think about 11. So it's not 9, 2, it's not 5, 6. My options are 3, 8 and 4, 7. The 10 cage. I think I can still do 1, 9, can't I? So whichever is the 9 will have a 5 above it. I mean, we know that's not the option again because this is 5, this is 9. But how else can I disprove this? There is a very weird one here. So 3, 8 and 4, 7. Yes, I can't have 3, 7. Because essentially, if I use 3, 7, I've broken both of my 11 options. Essentially, 3, 8 is disqualified and 4, 7 is disqualified. So my options are 1, 9, 2, 8, and 4, 6. Still huge number of options though. And again, we know 1, 9 is not one of them. Where am I going with all of this? That is a question. Let's write these options for a second. 5, 9, 6, 8. So what happens with all of this? Let's go with the 6, 8 option for a second, because we know it's not the likely scenario. 6, 8 with 4, 7, 4, 1. That wouldn't be a 1. So essentially we're left with 2, 3, and a 9. So there's a 2, 3 here. Interesting, actually. 9 in one of 2 cells. This is... Why is this interesting? Because essentially, if the 9 is here, so the 5, I mean, unfortunately, it can still have a 9 beneath it. Otherwise, you would have said the 1 has to be above it, and that's not entirely true. There's clearly some sort of interaction between these cages that I'm not quite seeing. 5 with the 1, no 1 here. Whereas 1 now in column 3, that was there for ages. Sleuth, that's not 1, that's not 6, that's 3, 4, that's not 3, 7 anymore. That's 2, that's 8. That's not an 8. That's not an 8, that's not a 3. These, oh, that 8 gives me a 6 and an 8, which removes a 6 and an 8 option in here. These are 5, 7, 9, except that's not a 9. Getting so close now to sort of, can feel you can almost sort of crack this puzzle, but it's just really fighting every step. Not an 8. Not very helpful, but not an 8. Not a 6. Maybe worthwhile. Yeah, so we're making progress. So 1, 9 is disqualified from here. And 3, 7 because of that 11 cage. So this is 2, 8 or 4, 6. That's far fewer options to consider. If it is 4, 6, that's 3. That's 8. Then we have 5, 7, 9. And essentially a 7, 9 pair. Hang on, that's not a 5. Why? I don't know why I wrote that as an option anyway. So if this is 4, 6, that's a 7, 9 pair. That's a 3. That's an 8. And that would be forced. And it's forced to be a 9. We haven't... No, 7, 9 is there. 4, 6 is there. It's forced to be an 8. 8 feels very strange because 4, 6 here removes 4, 7, and 8 here removes 3, 8. So that breaks. There must be an easier way than what I've just done. I'm sure there is. So that is 2, 8, which removes 8, 3 as an option. That's 4, 7. That 8 removes the 8 as an option here. That is indeed 9 and 5. That's not the 5. That is the 5. That requires a 1 above it because there's no 9 beneath it. That's not 1. That 5 and 9 doesn't actually help. It doesn't give me anything. Incredible. Right. Not a 9. That's a 4, 7 pair. That gives me a 5, a 9. Hang on. What did I break? I broke something. Where's my second 3, 8? 2, 8. Remove the 3, 8. Where's my second 3, 8? It's not in here. Once that's 2, 8. Why is that a 1? Oh, that's the only place for it. Hang on, let me just, sorry. I'm going to rewind a little bit because I just spotted that there is obviously a 1 in here. And wherever the 5 is in this box, it doesn't have a 9 beneath it. So that's the 5, which means that's not the 5. That's the 5, that's the 9. I think that is far more solid reasoning. That's not 5, 7. That's not a 7. That's not a 9. Yeah, so that's 4, 7. And essentially it is a 4 because we've got a 5, 7 looking at it. That's a 9. That's a 7. That's a 9. Reason I say that is now this is definitely 3, 8, which removes the 2, 8 option. That is 4, 6. So I don't know how I kind of broke it in my head earlier. That 8 gives me a 3, which gives me in turn a 6. Doesn't give me anything else. No, it does. That's an 8. That's a 3. That's an 8. There's 2 and 7. That 7 tells me that's the 7. That's the 2. Have I got... Yes, 8, 3. Right, I think we've got it now. It's just... That was hard work. I don't know if I made it seem harder than it really is. This is not 1 or 9. Only place for a 9 left in box 6 seemingly is in here. And the 1. This is not... Yeah, that's a 2. So this is 4 or 6. And it can be still either. That gives me a 3 up here. So I need a 2. Okay, what are these two cells? They are 7. They are 4, 7. Which makes this a 6, makes this a 4, makes this a 6 again. Then I need 2 and 8. That's the 8, that's the 2 because of this 8. That is definitely a 6 now. That is a 2, that's an 8. That's not 3, that's a 4, 7 pair, so I know what these are. These are 5, 6, I'm going to venture. I don't know what this is. This is 1 with 3, 4, or 7. That can be a 1 or a 7. It's not 3 or 4. Not quite enough. What have I? I've done all the 5s, haven't I? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they're all looking pretty good. Yeah. Well, the 5 plus the 1 above it, and then the 5 plus the 1 above it. So that's all 9 5s. Have I got more things in here just to eliminate options? Not really. Rest of this, we need another 3, 4, 7 plus a 2. So 2, this could be 2, 7. Hang on. This could be 2, 7. There's a 1 with a... This could be 1, 7. So clearly one of these is correct. If that's a 7, that would be a 5. That would be a 2. That would be a 1. Hang on. There you go. That's where that's again, it breaks. Is that really, again, another... I'm overcomplicating. There must be a cleaner method. There has to be. Anyway, where I was going with this, if this is a 7, that of course would be a 5 because it's 5, 7, and that would be a 2, which would require a 1 in here. And remember, because of the Dutch flatmate rule, that would require a 5 under it because there is no 9 beneath it. So a long way of saying that's not a 7, that's a 1, that's a 5, that's a 6, that's a 1, that's a 5, that's a 2, that's not a 2, that's the 7, that's the 2. This is, well, 3, 7. Okay, hang on, 7, 3, 3, 4, not 4. 3, 7, 4, 7, yep, that's resolved finally. Yeah. I think I made this harder than it really was. And it's not the correct solution. What did I break? 5s. Oh, hang on. There you go. I'm just sort of taking it all in, really. So I think I was off to an exceptionally good start up here. That went very quickly. And then the 6-8 pair. I was very proud of that 1, 2, 5 in the 8Ks, the 3, 6, 8, the 4, 9, 7. So all of that was going well. And then things went really to complete standstill for a moment. And really, what was the break? Just classic Sudoku again, letting me down. Yeah. Really have to sort of catch on to that. Use all the rules. Don't just focus on, the variants. I think that's kind of the lesson I keep not learning. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the puzzle and maybe the video as well. There are quite a few Dutch flatmate puzzles that we have featured on this channel by now, so stick around and see what else is available. Bye bye for now.